December 11th, 2019. It was a dark, chilly morning. My client, Darren Smith, left his home in Driftwood before dawn. He was driving to the airport to meet his graduate school cohort for a class trip to South America. But the drive didn't go as planned. Smith was on South Mopac when things went awry.
There's nobody on the road. It is pitch dark, and I'm driving my older Lexus, and I'm almost to La Crosse where the Wildflower Center turns off. There's no lights. I look down for a second, just looks down at something on my floor, and I look up, and directly in front of me is an elk.
An elk in Austin, Texas.
Or something huge. I was so big, I just swerved, and it just stood there. It did not move, but it was huge. And my heart's racing 1,000 beats a minute. I'm like, what the hell was that?
An elk or something huge. Smith admits at first he wasn't sure what it was he saw.
So I get all the way over to the airport. Fellow students were all kind of gathered up to get on the same plane. I'm like, I almost hit a moose.
His friends weren't buying it. There were no moose around Austin. Maybe you just saw one hell of a deer. After a quick Google, Smith set the record straight. Not a moose, not a deer. It was definitely an elk. But his peers remained unconvinced.
My main memory is just thinking Darren was nuts and didn't really see an elk.
Brian South is a close friend of Smith's from graduate school. He remembers pulling up photos to argue the point.
Because I was like, no, dude, this is an elk. This is a deer. He's like, no, this is what I saw, the elk. And I was like, there's no way. There's no elk in Austin. But he was pretty set on it. So I was like, all right, man, maybe you did.
Smith's classmates laughed at him throughout their trip. Silly Darren, with his delusions. Elk belong in colder climates. The Rocky Mountains of Colorado, the snowy expanses of Yellowstone. So Smith returned home and sought solace with his loving wife. Surely she would believe him.
Yeah, she doesn't believe me.
But Smith couldn't let go, even as weeks passed, months, years. Frankly, it started to get a little weird.
He's like, hey, do you remember when we talked about that elk in Austin? I was like, vaguely, dude.
So finally, Smith brought the case to me.
I saw it for a fleeting, millisecond. But in that millisecond, I saw it. I know it's there.
I asked him to describe the creature he saw.
It was almost all leg, and then this body. The body was just like, it was just massive. If you looked in my window, it almost took up the physical bit of its actual torso was probably 5 or 6 feet wide. It seemed like in this head, and it just looked straight at me.
I grew concerned. He just didn't sound like a man who knew what an elk looked like. I began to fear I'd been approached by an unreliable witness. But Smith was a man possessed. For years, he'd been consumed, losing sleep, losing sanity, wondering how he could prove he saw what he saw.
I want to find the white whale. I know it exists. I know they're there. One day I'm going to see them. I want to find these elk.
Against my better judgment, I too became consumed. What exactly had Smith seen in the gloom? Was it simply a deer? Some strange cryptid of the night? Or could his suspicions be true? Darren needed to know, are there wild elk in Austin, Texas? There was one sign that pointed to yes. What appeared to be an elk crossing sign on the 45 Southwest toll, the connector between Mopac and 1626. The road opened mere months before Smith saw his creature of the night, and the sign did not escape his notice.
There's elk. There's gotta be elk. Why would they put up these signs if there's not some kind of elk?
I took the case. As it turned out, Smith wasn't the only one intrigued by that sign. No, it also aroused discussion among the good people of TexasBowhunter.com. Some were skeptical. "Ain't no elk here," said user Bowhunter Helm. But others told strange tales of elk roaming near the highway. There were elk here 9 years ago. My painter took a photo of a free-range herd in the area 10 years ago. I saw elk while building houses in Circle C. There are elk in a ranch down by the landfill. And finally, user Woodsticks with the question on everyone's mind, is there an archery season for them? I quickly realized there were plenty of stories of elk in Southwest Austin for those with the eyes to see, all somewhat mythical around the edges. There was the fuzzy video shot from a cell phone posted on Reddit, the photo from a game camera in the hill country. And there was my own editor, Ben Philpott, matter-of-factly telling me that everyone knows the sign on 45 is about escaped elk from the Texas Disposal System's exotic game ranch.
Yeah, everyone knows that.
Well, it was news to this detective. Texas Disposal Systems operates the landfill in far southeast Austin that accepts most of Austin's trash. And here old Ben was telling me that an exotic game ranch occupies the same property. There one can lock eyes with rhinoceroses, kudus, and yes, elk, also classified as exotics in this state. Odd, perhaps, that a waste management company would keep zebras and kangaroos near a landfill, but the ways of Texans are strange. In fact, there are plenty of ranches scattered across Texas that stock exotic animals, many of them raking in thousands of dollars a pop from hunters hoping for a shot at the elusive elk, with its distinctive bugle and large, impressive antler rack. Ranchman Callan Ahrens leads hunts from the open ranges of West Texas to the enclosed exotic ranches of the hill country.
Hunters that normally would try to go to New Mexico, Arizona, Utah, Wyoming, Colorado, to go hunt elk, they're finding it's more profitable for them to hunt them in state.
Elk may be classified as exotic today, but they once roamed Texas as natives until overhunting and habitat loss took their toll. By the 1920s, landowners began to capture elk out of state and bring them back to West Texas. Today, up to several thousand may be ranging freely in that region. But in the hill country of central Texas, elk are relegated to high-fence properties that keep wildlife out and exotics in. Funny thing about fences, though.
Fences, they get holes in them.
That's right, they get holes. Flooding creates water gaps, sections of fence fall, elk escape, and then all bets are off.
Yeah, they're at the mercy of, God Almighty, because then they just breed and do what they want.
Forget the image of the elk ranging through a snowy Yellowstone. These animals are adaptable survivors, holding up to both heat and cold. They have a flexible diet and sprawling home ranges of 100 square miles or more. That's why Ahrens can confidently say today that there are thriving, breeding elk around Austin.
We manage some ranches along 290 between Johnson City and Austin, and there is some elk that I've seen on camera and from survey from a helicopter, and there's even some on the north side of Austin that I've seen too.
Things were beginning to look up for my client. And signs kept piling up in his favor. Apparently, the elk crossing sign was placed after several of the animals were spotted during the road's construction. Road crews reported cleaning elk carcasses from the tollway. And at the Wildflower Center, right near where Smith encountered his alleged elk, staff members shared rumors of a herd escaping from a nearby private ranch. Exactly which ranch, they couldn't say. The road authorities, too, didn't know where their interloping elk had come from. But they said nearby homeowners continue to report sightings.
My name's Michael Ekrot. This is my second house in Circle C, but I really wanted one with a green belt, so that's why I moved to Gray Rock.
Ekrot's home isn't far from the elk crossing sign or from the Wildflower Center. He placed a game camera in back of his home to enjoy sightings of wildlife. There's a lot to see. Cardinals, foxes, deer, and yes, even elk.
When I saw those big racks, I knew that they were elk right away.
I ran the footage by some experts. Callan Ahrens said, yes, there is an elk in this video, alongside a red stag, two similar species that often intermingle. So there I had it, my smoking gun. All there was left to do was give my client the good news. I called Smith into my office to show him the footage.
Does that look like what you saw?
Yes. Yeah, that looks very similar to what I saw. Maybe, I felt like they were bigger though. I'm gonna say that. I felt like they were bigger.
Well, for comparison, this is what a deer looks like on his camera.
Right.
This is an elk. So you can really see the size difference
Yes,
when
yes.
you compare them.
So I'm not crazy.
You are not crazy.
See, everybody thought I was crazy. I'm like, I'm telling you, there's elk in Austin.
My client was vindicated. Questions still linger about where these elk originally came from. The exotic ranch by the landfill was one guess, but there were plenty of other properties with elk around. Perhaps it was even multiple escapes that led to these mavericks roaming free. But one thing is sure: there are elk in Southwest Austin. And as I closed the book on this mystery, I began to wonder if even stranger things could be lurking in Austin. If there are elk here, why not the Texas Bigfoot? That's a question for my next case. Thank you.